achievements there.
Yeah.
What we were discussing was the idea of pride and how it applies to both video games and fan fiction. The game I play, Star Wars: The Old Republic, has a lot of different achievements and accomplishments that players actively pursue and try to get. And I recently got done talking to a woman who is a former guildie of mine, on again, off again, and she's ranked number 4 as far as players go in the entire game for her category. Not to get too much into details, but the action, the way she plays, ranked number 4 on the website that records it. So that's pretty prestigious in a community of millions, or at least a good million.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was that all these accomplishments, all these achievements, I've accumulated quite a bit just by playing the game for a very long time. And people kind of, they see my achievements as something to be proud of. But no, I'm more proud that I write My Little Pony fan fiction. And I tell them, killing Karaga the Unyielding in Nightmare Mode in under an hour, that's not a big deal. What's a big deal to me is having a featured article, or even just getting my ideas out, writing 1,000 words in a day, or just expressing a chapter in a way that I really like, and getting my ideas and bringing them to life. That's more of an achievement to me than anything in this silly little game. And there's a reason because of that. It's because this video game, and here's the opinion part of it. This video game, I don't think any of the achievements really matter as much as creating something with your own 2 hands. This game was made by faggot Canadian developers, and on FiMFiction.net, I am that faggot Canadian developer. Punchline. But it's something to be considered. Creation versus action. I mean, someone has created these achievements, all these goals for the players and tasks for the players to undertake, and just to be happy that you were able to do something that someone else came up with, that's not really a big deal.
So it's kind of a sense of like limitation. It's like you're bound by the game's rules. You can't step outside of any of that, you know.
Exactly, but on FIM Fiction, I make my own rules, I create my own stories, they're literally whatever I want them to be, and they're my ideas undeniably.
How would you view, like, for example, in video games like Minecraft and Little Big Planet, where, you know, you're creating your own stuff and then sharing that with the community, and if people are proud of that, what they've done, would you consider that in the sort of same league as creating your own stories?
Well, the opinion that I expressed, the one that is a very, very strong opinion, and also one that I acknowledge that not everyone agrees with, and even I myself at times don't agree with my own opinion. That opinion is that creating something yourself is better than accomplishing a task created by someone else.
Right.
Or
because
indulging in someone else's creation.
So you kind of view like level creation and things like that from Little Planet as sort of a higher.
Once again, this is an opinion I'm expressing. I don't agree with it completely.
Timed out.
But if it's not a task that's set by the developer, for example, you know, if you're creating a level on Little Planet, you don't have to do any of that. You literally cannot even try.
That's that's not an action though. That is creation. Well, there's a difference between doing and creating something. When you perform an action, though, you are creating something, and creation itself is an action. But so the two are completely the same in some ways. When you do something, you do make something, and when you make something, you do something. But the making, in my opinion's mindset, the making is more important than the actual doing. The result.
You worked hard at it. You poured your heart and soul into it, and all your emotions.
But the outcome.
Well, there's also
the outcome becomes satisfying.
Well, there's also the idea, like, say you're taking the video game example, and say we'll make it simple, that it's like a game that's really...
Let me go back to Minecraft for a second.
Oh, okay.
Addressing Minecraft, what they're doing in that game is creation. It's not action at that point when they are able to build something. That's the same way as what I do with the English language. I'm using the building blocks to make something, to make a story, to bring a picture in my head to life. That's exactly what the players in Minecraft are doing with those tools. Their tools are three-dimensional blocks. Mine are just the English language.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Adam.
Welcome back. I was going to say...
Sorry, my modem crashed again.
If we were to bring the whole game analogy into like a bit simpler, and say like, oh, the achievement is there's this game and it's ridiculously hard, and I've beaten it on the highest difficulty setting, and that's the kind of achievement that anyone could potentially do. But the idea that you've got in your head, that's your idea. That's like no one else is going to have written this exact same story that you've written and come up with the exact same thing. Like you're achieving something that no one else could have achieved in terms of like they won't have had your same ideas.
In that sense, yeah.
Or have I just gone off on a complete tangent and left the conversation to die?
Not entirely. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit distracted here. Once again, I am playing this game as I'm speaking to you, but it's the same when you look at it in just about any scale. That I'm sorry. Start again.
Me start again from the beginning.
Yes, please. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
My apologies.
I'll try and make it quick. I was saying that you're using the game analogy and say achievement in the game. There's this game and it's really hard, and yet you've managed to beat it, and it's like that's an achievement that anyone could do potentially. But to produce the fic that you've got in your head, you're the only one. Yeah, you're the only one.
Yes, but at the same time, you also have to acknowledge that no one plays a game the way you do. Yes, you can accomplish the same task, but no one is going to do it the same way you've done. So in a way, action is creation, but you're nailing it down to the differences in the way people play and achieve similar results.
Yeah.
A fraction of differences, but I believe you can measure it like the time it takes to complete a game. I want to say that even the outcome of the video game itself will be different when two different people beat it. But I think it's only different based on interpretation at that level.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult argument to make, but ultimately, in a way, true. That the outcome of the game will be different for every person that beats it. Even the people that lose and stop playing, or two different people that beat the same game in the same way. It will be different because it's interpreted in different ways.
User entered your channel.
There will be subtle glitches in the mechanics every single time, subtle pixels that misfire.
Yeah.
You'll never get the same, but those differences are at like the microscopic level.
Yeah.
Ultimately, as far as storyline, the developers want to see, they're trying to force sameness upon you, familiarity, out of conformity, not really conformity, but out of comfort. But ultimately, when two different people play the same game, you don't play it the same way as someone else. Maybe someone else, let's take an example, Super Mario Brothers. There are only so many ways you can jump, but maybe someone jumped a little faster than you did and a little slower in one area. Maybe, and obviously you're never going to finish it exactly the same time as another person, so there are differences there.
Yeah. Okay.
But the differences are far more drastic when you create two different ideas. When you actually make a story, when you come up with something and write it down, that there's more differences in the syllables of the words you write than there are in the jumps that Mario makes. And I can hear Shigeru Miyamoto arguing that they're almost the same in that regard, that those little jumps will speak as many volumes as the syllables in a word, but you can examine it more in a story.
Yeah.
People will be able to see differences more. And ultimately, that's what we're looking for. When you beat a game, it's for you, but when you write a story and post it on FiMFic,
it's not just for you, it's for everybody else.
Well, true, if you're going for the high score, but it's in a video game, you're doing it more for yourself, and in a story, you're doing it more for the audience.
Yeah, you want, it's the fact that you're entertaining people, or you're just more the fact that you're putting a smile on people's faces or entertaining them.
Or there are some fics that you might do as an experiment because you're wondering what kind of reaction you're going to get. You're just curious. Or alternatively, you could just be doing this, you could write something that's only for you. But the point is, writing gives you more freedom. Video games will always feel like a sandbox that you're trapped in, and because of that, all the little goals are already there. They're a little bit easier to reach, but the open landscape, the blank canvas of writing something,
it's much larger than the world of a video game.
Yeah,
the scope, the limit is your own imagination.
Yeah, I think bringing it back to the whole, you're writing for other people as well. They're the ones that are enjoying your work. And I guess that, because I did have a comment on one of the comedies I wrote, where someone said that they ended up like spurting their coffee across their screen, and just, there is kind of a sense of pride in thinking that someone's been reading what you've written, something that was originally just in your head, and that they found it so funny that they spurted their drink across their screen. That's I guess there's something to be fairly proud of there.
Okay, a question for both of you.
Okay.
Do you guys think that, what do you think your guys'
User
goal
disconnected from your channel.
When it comes to writing fanfic? Do you expect people to make it popular, or get popular outside fan fiction, or what?
I guess with me, I don't know. It's always nice to think that your fic would become really, really popular, but I guess moreover, what I'd like more than anything is to at least have, even one or two people to have read my story and to say that, that was amazing, I really enjoyed that, or something along those lines, or it was so good it made me cry, something like that. Again, even just a few people to have to know that I've made them have that feeling, then that's really good. Although immense popularity is always going to be a bonus.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What about you, Barrow?
Well, it's like a script said. I write mostly for me, to get my own ideas out there and just to see them come to life in some small form. And you want your audience to read it. That's the reason you post it on FiMFiction.net and you're not hiding it in a notebook somewhere. That's actually a curious statement, because I do write in a notebook that I don't let anyone else see. But when you put it on FiMFiction, you want an audience. You want to capture someone's imagination. But to have it expressed outside the site, outside FiMFiction, I think in some regard, a lot of people do want that. We want to become well known outside not just this community, but in a global aspect. It opens the door to more possibilities and more opportunities, and I'm gunning for that too. What I would just like for myself, one story to be someone's headcanon, or for someone to
that is kind of a really good feeling that if you've built a world and someone then, like, I mean, I had that with one of the
They feel so
fanfics that I read.
strongly about it that they
Yeah.
want it to be, that they're recommending it to other people.
Yeah, I mean, because I read a fanfic. It's still my favorite fanfic ever. It's called Unmarked, and a lot of it is with OCs and with kind of new ideas, and it takes to new areas. And there was for a while when I was reading it and I was really getting into it, where I would just sit and I would just sort of think about these characters, and I would think about these places where they'd been to, even when I wasn't reading it. You know, to the point where I've become so invested that, you know, even when I'm not looking at it, I'm still thinking about it, I'm still obsessing over it, and I guess that's a kind of really good feeling, and to think that you would do that for someone else is, I don't know.
Oh, nice.
Like
Okay,
winning a
another
cultural
question.
victory in civilization. But
Another
your story
question.
is so influential.
Another question. It's pretty much for all of us here. What is your biggest challenge in writing a fan fiction when it comes to like I'm not talking about like when it comes to making the idea, because it's easy to come up with an idea and then putting it on paper, you know, and seeing how people react to it, especially when it comes to experimenting with an idea. But what I mean is that my main point, the point I want to make here is, do you guys find it harder to world build or what? Like things like that, like world building, making
mean
sure
like-
you...
Do you mean like the thing with fanfiction we have the most difficult in, whichever aspect it is?
Yeah.
You know, aside from maybe grammar, because I just think that would be irrelevant to speak about
Yeah.
at this point.
Aside from grammar.
Honestly, I think world building, it isn't easy, but a lot of authors are afraid of borrowing things or too much of one idea, and I've kind of overcome that fear. You have to acknowledge that there are so many other ideas that have already been done, and no matter what, you're always going to be borrowing something from someone else in some aspect. So,
Even if you don't know it.
exactly. Even
Yeah,
if you don't know it.
I know there was an idea that I got in one of my fics, and I didn't realise that until like months after I'd come up with it, and I was like, oh, that's straight out of a Young Justice episode. Great. And I didn't even realise at the time.
For me, the problem is trying to, like, put the words on a digital paper, so to speak. Like, it's hard for me to come up with the words to describe what I'm talking about.
But what do you find more difficult to do? Is it like dialogue or describing the world, describing your characters, like which part of that?
Pretty much a lot of it. Like, I guess just describing the world and the actions is probably one of the harder things for me. Dialogue, not so much, but whenever it's like I have to describe like a room or someone's actions in like a first-person perspective, that can get kind of difficult.
Yeah, the same here with me.
But me, when it comes to writing a first person, I don't... When it comes to writing a third person, it's harder for me to write like that, because the expectation of writing in third person is that you have to expand on the environment rather than the character. When writing in first person, all I have to worry about is basically the characters themselves as opposed to the environment. Yes, you can describe what the environment is like from the character's perspective, but a third person is just asking, okay, you know, the description of the environment here, and then the surrounding area, and then what's going on in the background.
I guess for me, I don't know whether it's something that I have the most difficulty with, but it's something that I kind of obsess over more, and I worry about more, and that's the pacing of my fic. It's easy enough for me to have an idea and say, all right, this character does this character says this, then they go over here and do something else. But the
That's
idea
the problem
that
I have too, is trying to pace it.
The idea that someone's reading this, they've never read it before, so, you know, while I'm reading it, I can kind of skim read and I know exactly what's going on, but the idea that someone else is reading this for the first time, they don't know what's going on, and I want it to be paced at a correct pace, and to give the kind of feeling that I had when I was thinking up these ideas, and to have the kind of pace that I want, whether or not it's kind of a slow kind of, easy pace, or whether it's a lot of stuff's happening and going very quickly. And I guess that's what I kind of obsess over more when I write my fics.
Yeah, pacing isn't always easy. The pacing can be like in your eyes, and the pacing could be like, oh my god, you're better with pacing your story than I am, or your pacing's actually really good. Keep it up.
Well, I mean, I had a situation a little while ago where one of my main fics, I went and did like a massive re-edit. It's like I took the first like 8 chapters and overall cut about 7,000 odd words and edited bits like from the entirety of those. Adam, we've got your mic on.
Try to fix that.
User entered your channel.
7,000 is quite a lot.
So yeah, it altogether, all of those chapters before kind of came up to about 50,000 words, and I went through and I edited and I changed and I cut, and it was basically that I'd kind of, my pacing to begin with, because a lot of it I'd written quite a long time ago when I'd sort of started my fan fiction writing, and in my head I thought the pacing was fine because I could see what was happening and I knew what was happening, and as time was going on. And then I kind of got a few comments saying about the pacing and how some of the information might have seemed a bit redundant, and at the time I kind of didn't really think much of it, and then I kind of read back on it, and because I hadn't seen it in a long time, it was more like I was a new reader, and so I cut quite a lot from the first few chapters, and I kind of realised like my mistakes that I made there, so to speak, and I think a lot of that comes down to, if you're writing something, and you've got this idea, and like the time it takes to read a 5,000 word fic is I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that. The time it takes to write one of those could be hours and hours and hours and hours, and so your ideas are spread out across all this time, and yet it's condensed into this tiny thing that the reader's just going to read through really quickly. And so I guess that's where I kind of fell down. I think I've improved on that, but yeah, I think I definitely fell down with that when I first started writing.
Have you guys ever wrote a story, and like several chapters in, you just kind of had that feeling where, like, I don't think this is going anywhere, people may not, people may like it, but it's like, I don't think it's going anywhere, sort of deal.
Yeah, I've had that with one of my fics, and it's the only one that's actually got 100% likes. It's got no dislikes whatsoever, and yeah, I wrote the first 2 chapters and started the 3rd, and I didn't really see it. And I guess, to be honest, it was kind of like an experiment fic that I was just kind of putting out there, and I thought it'd be easy for me to just write. But yeah, it didn't kind of go as planned, and I kind of like took it upon myself then that I wouldn't start a new fic unless I genuinely believed that I could see it through to the end, or that at least I was going to make it a one shot so that I could only post the whole thing, and I couldn't do a halfway and then go and do something else.
Myself, I've never had that problem, but I've felt in similar circumstances. I've had a couple stories. One of my most liked, sitting with 20 likes, is, and I know that's pathetic, but
oh, it's fine, mate, honestly.
conflicting. It's called Star Wars: The Old Republic: Conflicting Elements. You can probably see there's a theme.
Yeah.
I'm playing that game right now as we're speaking, and I've written fan fiction about it. I crossed over the world of the Old Republic and My Little Pony together in, I feel it's a very good in-depth idea. Well, not the best executed idea, but I think the idea itself, I pulled it off. And it was apparently in readable format because I got some approval from a small audience, and I wanted to extrapolate. I brought these two worlds together, and I wanted to go somewhere with them. But ultimately, I've tried a couple other fics, and none of them, there's a couple that don't really feel that right. But the difference is, with both of these ideas, there's still opportunity for me to go places with them. They're not something I just stopped writing. I mean, there was a time when I felt like I kind of felt like I didn't want to write anymore about this, but I acknowledge that how can I say this? Every idea has potential. I mean, don't just throw away an idea. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't just throw away an idea. Even the stories that haven't completed, I can see where I was going with them, and I can see them through to the end. So, no, I haven't just gotten to the point where halfway through a fic, I've wanted to just scrap the whole thing because it's not going anywhere. It can always go somewhere. That's the idea. I mean, think about this. Let me give you an example. I'm writing a sea pony fic, BioShock in Equestria, and it involves sea ponies. Honestly, it makes sense. They're adorable underwater creatures. BioShock is a city underwater. Well, Rapture is. And I could do something radical and just kill off all the characters in one giant over-dramatic sequence in the adventure right there. Would it be ended? Technically, yes. There's probably a few fics out there like that, and it would get likes, it would get approval just because it's different. But I don't want that, so I'm not going to. Ideas can change, stories can change in ways you can't imagine. So sometimes you need to take a break from something and take a look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the thing that ideas can change, and like the idea that you might have at the start will be different to what actually goes onto the paper. Because I mean, well, my main fic at the moment, I have a character that I had never even planned to put into the fic at all, and it was just kind of like a little friend that one of the characters works with or whatever, and it was just kind of like I just put them in as a throwaway, and then as I started like creating this personality for this character, and I started to really enjoy writing her, and then like other readers said that they liked that character, and then it's like she became more important than I would have ever planned for to begin with.
Yeah.
Which I don't know whether that was relevant to the point that was being made, but I don't know. It's nice to just speak about things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it is, no, what you said is relevant because you just said that ideas can change in ways that you can't imagine because other people are seeing them.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier is sometimes you need to take a break, or sometimes you might want to stop working on an idea because you lose faith in it, but if you give it another chance, later on you might see how it works in a different way.
Yeah.
I just despise like how some people will come up, how most people in fiction these days will come up with a character and they'll follow the usual tropes, of course, pisses me off.
Gary Stu, overpowered.
Yeah.
Yes, that is my problem. Like, okay, when your OC enters Equestria, when your human enters Equestria, you don't write them out like, oh, okay, now they're gonna get magic. Now they're gonna be able to Celestia or Twilight's gonna make them be able to absorb magic. Because it's my fiction, I want that to be able to happen. My character's gonna be able to do this and do that. He's gonna be able to relate to the ponies. Emotional baggage everywhere.
I think The one thing I do notice a lot though is that a lot of people will make assumptions on an OC and call them a Gary Stu when they like haven't seen much of them. Like I think I've seen like a trend of people who will deliberately make their main characters complete bastards and just like over the top flawed characters just because they want to. They're afraid of them being called Gary Stews and Mary Sues. Like I don't know. I don't know.
But they're
I don't
already
know
becoming Gary Stu.
Yeah. Like I don't know whether I think maybe the term Gary Stu and Mary Sue like they are thrown about quite a lot when it comes to OCs. When necessarily they're not. But then again, I have seen some very bad Gary Stews in my time reading fan fiction, so it's not like they don't exist. They really do.
Essentially, a Gary Stu is someone who lacks depth, just kind of facile.
Yeah. Otherwise,
When it's cardboard.
It's a male Mary Sue. They're both the same thing.
Guys, I have to go.
Oh, okay.
Food.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
See you in about like 20 minutes.
Yeah, see you in 20 minutes.
Okay, see you soon.
User left your channel.
So yeah, you were saying about like Gary Stews you've seen in fics. Like, is it mostly like the human equestria like cliche things that you see a lot of then?
Like for me, like Gary Stews can be like if the character is so unrelatable, then it's a Gary Stew, in my opinion. Because okay, you can overpower your character, that makes them a Gary Stew already. But for me, like, how much can you relate to the character as a person is what matters to me the most.
Well, I think like because I mean one of the characters that I introduced as an OC in one of my fics is kind of like his general appearance is that he's this really kind and he's this really kind of nice and he's like this handsome stallion, but he's kind of shown like the story's shown from like a different perspective almost, and it's kind of like he's not what he's made out to be. If you sort of get my gist, like he's almost putting on an act. But then I introduced this character, and immediately someone made this like snap comment about it and saying this character is a Gary Stu. This is a self-insert.
I hate that phrase.
Even though I tried to make it obvious that like there's something underlying, there's something that's not being made clear, and there's kind of like it's kind of revealed that he's dying, and so like he's doing his like the way he's acting and the way he is he's really trying to make this great impression on these characters because you know he has literally nothing else left. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, I can see it.
And so,
yeah, and like, even though I'm not one for Gary Stews, as long as they're like done well, like Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
But let me think for a moment. In my fic, the only one that I actually have up, some people have actually said that my character is crossing into Gary Stew territory. Have been, because a lot of people say that, okay, I know for a fact it's not how he's reacting to the ponies. I know that for a fact. It's because people keep on getting on me about, what? Can't you go into more depth with his powers? Can you explain more of his limitations? It's like, it's only 3 chapters in, and you already want all this explanation.
Yeah, I sort of see that as like the character that I was talking about. People were saying like, we've just seen him be polite, and it's like, well, in that particular environment, that's the way he's going to act because that's the only way. Like he's trying to make this good impression, and he does change a lot as time goes on, and like certain things go on, and he acts completely differently, and like as the focus is brought onto certain things. But I sort of see what you mean, that there's this assumption that they are Gary Stews because they haven't done this. Like, it's almost as if you're obligated to make them have these massive flaws, like, immediately apparent, or else people are going to make this assumption. And it's like, yeah, my character isn't this, saintly pony or whatever like that. There's some underlying things they become apparent. They become revealed later on. But yeah.
Yeah, like with my character, like he has amnesia.
Right.
And like I start the story off with him being dropped in Equestria. I have not really gotten around to explaining as to exactly what took place for him to get there. All I mentioned in the third chapter all I brought forth in the third chapter was the villain in a dream sequence.
Yeah.
And he's basically explained to him, like, I brought you here, but I didn't explain how he brought him here. And the only hint you have is that scions and magic don't mix. And upon entering Equestria, he has amnesia, and this is another thing I get flack about. He has amnesia. Why is he reacting as if he's familiar with the ponies? I basically took my own little twist on, like, just because a character has amnesia doesn't mean necessarily they're going to react like, oh my god, what the hell is going on? I don't know what's going on. They're going to act like all freaking,
Yeah.
Like, I sort of had my character, he reacts, like, in his head, like, when he first sees Rainbow Dash, it's like, oh my god, it can talk, it's like, and then he falls out of he tries to adjust himself so he can get a better look, and he falls out of the tree, of course, that he was hiding in, and then Rainbow Dash comes out, they meet, then it just sort of goes around the means that, well, these are, like, I don't really say it in the story, but it's like, I could sort of imply that because these are the intelligent beings of this realm, he's going to follow through as much as he possibly can and endure.
Right.
So how far is his amnesia, go?
You would have to read the fic. It's Mind Over Matter. My name on FiMFic is JakeTheBrony.
Log into FiMFiction?
Huh?
Logging in FiMFiction. I think you guys shouldn't really worry about that whole Gary Stu thing. I mean,
yeah,
there are too many people that worry about first impressions way too much, and you can't. That's not how you write a story. You can't just, delve into the entirety of your character the second you meet him.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of baffled that this guy had.
The gall to call you out like that.
Yeah, he made this assumption that this is going to be a predictable self-insert romance story from less than 2,000 words of a first chapter. That assumption was made out of, and it's like, well, the idea that it's predictable. Well, if you predicted this and this and this and this, and it's taking a completely different route, and I don't know, and it's. I think I can be quite thankful because this character I'm talking about isn't actually the main focus for a lot of it. I kind of have a dual, like a split narrative going on, and it kind of splits off to a different setting. So he's not in it for a majority of it. So I guess I'm kind of, I don't have to worry too much, but it is a bit annoying when I see.
Yeah.
It is a bit annoying. It mainly was just one comment that was made the when I first released the fic that kind of was like it just tearing into it. And I guess one thing that really annoyed me was I actually sent a message to this guy, a PM, sort of about my fic, kind of explaining certain things about it.
Oh, don't tell me you didn't read it or just
and I didn't get a reply to him. Never got a reply. And so, I think it's just the idea that he can just you know, the someone can say all this stuff, insult your ideas without even knowing what your ideas are, and then to not even get back to you. That kind of pissed me off, and that's why that's kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like, with me, like, I plan to, like, get to a point where my character actually does start to snap, like, okay, you know, it's like, it's going to get to that point, like, where, okay, you know, I've only managed to retrieve this much of my memory, and nothing else is working, and I just want to get the hell out of here, this and that. You know, I'm surrounded by talking ponies, you know, da-da-da-da-da.
Talking colorful, huggable, cute little ponies. I don't see a problem here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing that Delta, or I guess JakeTheBrony, I don't know what you'd rather be called.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that what you haven't done, which is a good thing, is you haven't taken a character that is literally you and just put them into a fanfic and try to guide the story down to like exactly what you would do and what you would want if you were in Equestria. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I believe
I
out
think
of all
it can. I think it can necessarily. I mean, I did see one fanfic that I read ages ago, and the guy explicitly said that he was making this character as close to him as possible. And what happens in the fanfic is he hangs out with Fluttershy. He plays music with Fluttershy because he's a musician, and then they end up in a romance. And it's kind of like,
yeah,
it's
that
very,
is bad.
very what I would do in Equestria, what I would want to happen if I was in Equestria story.
But
and
see,
so that's where Gary Sue's sort of happen, I think, because I don't know.
Yeah, but then they're not making. I mean, I mean, character inserts can be okay, but character insert plus romance is just kind of like a bad idea. I mean, like, I don't know.
I think I've seen an OCX main 6 fanfic work, but it works because the romance, it isn't the
Main of the story.
focus. Yeah, it's not the focus. It's this idea that you have got these two, you know, different characters, and it doesn't seem wish fulfillment because the focus is completely elsewhere, and the romance kind of shows up a couple of times, but it's not like, oh, they're together now, there's the end of your story. It's like there's a whole other thing going on, and so that works really well. I think I thought that, you know, pulled the whole OCX main 6 off really well.
Like right now in my head, I'm trying to plan out a sequel, even though I'm only 3 chapters into this current fic.
That's painful. I've done that with one of my fics, and I know that I'll probably never get around to doing it.
Like I wanna. Like at the end of my fic, like I kind of like want to like have him like he exits Equestria, and now after Sombra has been defeated, he now has all of it. He can now use his power to the fullest extent, bend reality, do this, do that.
Yeah.
But like in the sequel, I kind of want to have him like he makes an attempt to go back to Equestria, and then he loses his powers.
Owned.
Because him opening a because in the sequel, I want to explain like that him opening a portal on his own, he can drain himself so much that his powers will be neutralized. And the only way he would ever be able to get them back is if that is a work in progress right there.
Yeah.
That is something I need to figure out.
I think, I mean, I've almost got like this planned trilogy for one of my fics, but I don't even know if I will actually do that sort of thing.
I was away for a bit. What were you guys talking about?
Just talking about writing fics and like what constitutes a Mary Sue, Gary Stu character and things like that. And,
I kind of want to like send one of you the current chapter I'm working on. Have one of you guys give your opinion. Mainly Scripter here because he has like what 5 fics up.
And back.
Not 9, I think, or something like that. But there's 3 that I'm currently ongoing working on. If I add you to my follow list, I don't think. Yeah, hang on. If we follow each other on FiMFiction.
How do you work on so many stories at once? I mean, I want to, but I just feel I'd only really be working on one.
Oh, working on 3 at once. Well, I did try and work on 5 at once, and 2 of them I had to cancel because I literally couldn't do it. But yeah, it's sort of difficult, but I like the idea that if there's one story that I'm kind of just sick of, or I hit a wall with, that I can turn to the next one, and I kind of have like a cycle going where I'll update this one fic, and then I'll go on to this next one, and then I'll try and get the update for that finished, and then I'll go on to the third one, try and get the update for that. It has run into a couple of times where I got some. I mean, one of my fics, there was a 2-month wait between 2 of the chapters, which was kind of regrettable. But it was a fairly big chapter, and it kind of ended up being longer than I'd anticipated, and I kind of needed to fit certain events into it, and couldn't really, had to work on it like that. But it's difficult. But I don't know.
Okay, I added you to my watch list.
Oh, cheers. I think if you want to get your updates out like fairly quickly, or if you don't get much time, or you don't think that you can, you could produce enough of different fics, then trying to do multiple stories at one time is quite difficult. But yeah, I mean, I've just done it because because it would take me too long to just finish one fic in its entirety and say, right, that's done, dusted, on to the next one. And so that's why I started other ones, kind of doing them alongside each other, because I just think that it'd almost be like I'd never get to that point of starting the next fic, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I think I should probably do
I know
that.
what you mean.
But I think the next thing I want to do is like probably a collaboration with like another author or something. I just feel I have an idea that's just entirely too big.
I could probably do something with collaborative work, because a lot of times it's hard for me to just do something on my own unless someone actually helps
have
put
someone
words in
that
my
would
mouth.
I think the fun part... Oh, sorry. I think the fun part about collaboration fics is that you get to see how your OC and somebody else's OC will react to each other or interact with each other, and especially amongst the characters of a particular show you're writing about.
Oh, you mean like throwing 2 human OCs together?
Yeah, like you throw them together and like you get to see how they interact with each other. You get those, and like that's like the joy I get out of collaborations. Like when I see collaborations done,
User disconnected from your channel.
That's like the joy I see happening, or that I can see that could come out of it.
I've been tempted to do a collaboration before, but I don't know if I'd work well. I don't know if I'd work well doing a collaboration with someone else, because I think I'd have very particular ideas of how I wanted things to go, and then someone else is going to have very different ideas, and I probably wouldn't do that well under that sort of idea. I mean, if it was just like, someone telling me that they their side of things, or giving me advice and saying, oh, you might want to do this, then that's not so bad. But if we're deliberately working on it together and it's both of us producing for it, I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, on the subject of it's called collaborations, I was actually trying to work on one, though. No, I kind of understand what you guys are getting at exactly. Having that kind of trouble trying to talk to him, saying what we want. But right now, we just had to get all the universes set up right now so we can actually start it. So, it's kind of like my 2 cents is going on right now in terms of that.
I think
Perhaps
I
at
think the
some
most
point-
interesting kind of fic that can be written is a child in Equestria.
Yeah, Child in Equestria is good, but if you want to actually have an adventure, it's kind of hard to do.
Don't think I've actually
I
seen
mean,
that
it's
done
good for
before.
slice of life, but for, like, adventures, it's kind of difficult.
Like, I can see a human child getting pulled into Equestria, and I can imagine the interactions that the child will have amongst the ponies and every pony else.
Yeah. I'm trying to write more in that Biker Lestia story. I only have like 400 words in the next chapter so far. I'm still trying to think about how to go about this for the next chapter. I already have that version of myself in the fic. Sort of wonder why, out of all the people on the Earth, Celestia would choose him. That he's not anything special. He's just some average Joe that no one beyond his friends and family would notice that he's gone.
I'm just going to have to take a quick break a second, guys. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Alright.
User left your channel.
Any
You
tips,
want, like,
guys?
a good example of, like, a sad slice of life sort of Child in Equestria? I know one that was made by someone called A Poetic Heart that you probably want to take a look
User
at.
entered your channel.
I'd have to look it up, though.
Who entered the channel? Oh, Hexman.
So, Delta?
Yeah?
Got any suggestions about that? I'm sort of writing the second chapter of my Biker Lestia story, you know, the biker princess from Equestria fic. Got any tips?
You're West Fox on FiMFiction, right?
Yep, West Fox 134.
One three four. My bad.
It'll take me a moment.
Well,
I
the
think
thing
that
of it
fic
is, I
called
haven't
Living with Toby.
I haven't
I
actually
have to
put the
double
second
check
chapter on FiMFiction yet. I still have it in a Word document on my computer.
You're doing Anthro.
Yep.
Oh God, I can't stand Anthro. Well, don't
I
let
think
my
it's all
opinion
right.
stop you from writing it. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
I
like
know.
Anthro.
It's called A New Home, and it's basically a story where a child named Toby Mason, who lost his mother,
Excuse me a second,
young,
so to be right
essentially
back.
ends up in Equestria. Is taken in by Fluttershy as a child. Well, as his adoptive mother.
How about a baby in Equestria?
I've tried
That would
to
probably
write
go
it,
very
but
badly.
the problem with trying to do a baby in Equestria is the fact that babies aren't very verbose.
What are you talking about? They have wonderful
Like, infants-
vocabulary.
Yeah, but they, before speaking age, they don't really have a very
No, but it's nice
diverse
to.
vocabulary.
I think it would be interesting to see the challenge of taking care of a human baby as opposed to a baby pony.
Yeah, and I know there are a lot of jokes that people make when they do this. Like, they only keep the baby stage for, like, so long, and then they sort of time jump ahead to when the character is older. And that's something that actually happens in a few of them I've read.
I could see... Okay, I could probably see, like, small little jumps, leaps in between months and then years, like, per chapter. And then some, like, jumps between a couple months during a chapter. But to go from one chapter, like, from, like, 4 chapters, here's him as a baby, or like a couple chapters from, okay, this is the character as a baby, here's the human baby for a couple chapters, 3rd chapter, he's an adult. It's like, wait, what, this happened in the span of 2 chapters?
Yeah,
They just grow up so fast.
For when I did mine, I made mine a bit more, like, exponential. Where
Yeah, like...
I gave, like, a chapter as a child, I gave a chapter when he was like a toddler, then as a young boy, and then
you want to go to the
as a young adult.
Yeah, like go to the My Little Dashie route when it comes to aging the character.
Yeah, do it exponentially. That's the best way to go about it. Do it in stage exponents. What's applicative about it?
Well, to me, like a perfect example of the baby aging thing, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but Fallout 3 was really good with that.
User joined your channel.
With the aging.
Welcome back.
Because it set the mood for you. Like it set the tone perfectly, especially if you looked around. Because like the context clues from that scene alone